despite having gone through school, taken some few lessons and knowledge on adolescent and that reproductive health, that some of us still cannot be able to tell when these things are happening under our own roof. At this juncture, I want to welcome Dr. Matelong, aka Seronei, to speak to us, and I will give him an open field to tackle this from whatever angle. Welcome to the conversation, sir.
Eli, thanks. I was trying to unmute myself, but I couldn't quite locate the button, but now I have it. So, hi, everybody. Evening to those who are in the evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Great conversation. I saw the alert yesterday that there would be this conversation, and I thought this is the thing I want to be in because I have been making lots of noise about human sexuality, um, the dignity of the girl child and the boy child, and all the things that we struggle with as parents. So first off, I am Seronei, originally from Nandi County. I live in Germany, where I do business. I do consulting in science in the area of alternative proteins, and live around Bremen, so not very far from LI actually. So the question of human sexuality, sex education, conversations about sex in the family, at the dining table, on the dining bench, whatever it is that people gather around the fireplace. Is it or is it not something which is happening? First off, I grew up under the very lucky care of a grandmother. From the age of 4, I left my parents and went to stay with my grandmother, and I did that until I was well past teenage. When I was 19, that's when I went to high school, and so I had the sort of privilege of having had a look at access to human sexuality conversations and sex education from parenting, but more of grandparenting than anything. And so when I think around about the people in my generation, the 50s and probably the 40s as well, who had access to grandparents, and we grew up around those people, we had a bit of freedom to discuss these things with our grandparents than we could with our parents. And so I will underline one word, which I think is really killing the African parenting concept. The experiment is totally killed by taboo, whatever it is. And the second thing is, which my grandmother never heard, was she never told me, never mention, never discuss, I don't want to see you with. And these are the three very common opening statements of modern parents, especially in Kenya and very traditional societies like ours, where you will find parents saying, hey, JB, I don't want to see you with boys. And, hey, Jebet, I don't want to hear you talk about, Kipchirchir or Wafula or Otieno. And, Jebet, don't ask me that question. Go ask your mother. So it has come to a point where, and I think the lady that was talking when I joined, I can't remember her name, but she brought up a very important point. If you could remind me, Ellie, two ladies.
Eunice
Yeah,
could be
yeah,
your target. And thank you,
yeah.
Grace, for actually coming in. Thank you. Proceed,
Yes,
Dr.
yes. So what I wanted to, I think Eunice mentioned something which we need to underscore, and the thing is about the safe space. Do your children, do our children, do my children have a safe space around me to freely float the discussion and conversation about their sexuality and the mystery of growing the biology as it changes? Do they have that safe space? And if they don't, where do they have that space? Because if they don't have that safe space at home, if they have it out there in the fields, if they have it out there in the gangs, if they have it out there in school, that is exactly where the first exploitation of the beauty of sexuality is going to happen. And in most cases, that is going to happen in the context of abuse. It will be going towards what our brother was talking about, children, you leave them with relatives, and the first thing you hear is, my uncle, the day you left me with him, he actually was fondling me and he was touching me and he actually um, looked at me. And the good thing with children is they don't forget those kind of horrors. Unfortunately, they affect the way they relate to all of us. They affect the way they relate to men. They affect the way they relate to fathers. They affect the way they relate to mothers. And so by default, I think children tend to be very free. They find a safe space around the mother quite naturally. And fathers, we have to work an extra mile to sort of enable them see that we are willing to listen to quote unquote childish talk. Because that is the problem with us. African men will always dismiss anything around sexuality and sex conversation as utoto. Usiniletee, nenda ongea na mama yako. Hiyo ni mambo ya watoto, sitaki kusikia. So the truth is, and I used to run a program last year on CAS TV, speaking to very traditional Kalenjin people in vernacular, where we discussed anything from the menses, how you relate with your girl as a father. If you are going to a supermarket and she picks tampons and drops them in the shopping basket, some father would basically say, hey, you don't buy those kind of things when I go shopping with you. You wait, or you put on another basket with your mother and she will pay separately. What you are telling that child is this thing that we consider to be very important, the one that is really the center, that brought that woman into your life and brought you into her life and joined the two of you to sort of procreate and bring these children, is nasty, is dirty, is unholy, is not worthy of being conversed about, And so I think we really need to disrupt our conversations. We need to re-engineer our catalog of taboos, and we need to agree that the society has driven us to a point where grandparents are no longer with us. You are in Nairobi, the grandparents are in Ushago. You are in Germany, the grandparents are in Nandi or Kericho or Wasingishu or Nairobi. You are in Belgium, your grandparents, some of them could be lucky, you have some in Netherlands, but the rest could be in Kenya. What are we going to do in a reality like that, where society is forcing us to look inwards more than look outward? And yet we do not have super grandparents to whom we can dump our children and say, this village has two super grandparents who will be handling all that would have been handled by our grandparents. Let's take our children there, they sit under a tree and listen to this woman. Let's take our children there, they sit under or on some rocks near a river bank and listen to some grandfather. What are we going to do? It is just very simple. We have to take the proactive step of creating the same a safe space around our family tables and inviting our children to have a conversation with us, and not shutting them down when they bring up some of these very salacious, if you like, conversations around sex. And I give you a good example. Our daughter was turning 17. I have a 25-year-old son, and we have a 22-year-old daughter. And when she was turning 17 here in Germany, she wrote in our family WhatsApp group and said, "Hey guys, I'm going to be seeing somebody." And the Nandi in me, the first reaction was, "Oh hell! I want to get the young guy here and wring his face and squeeze his neck to face backwards and just show him what kind of a man I am." But then on second thought, I thought this is what we've been teaching our children. We told them they need to be very frank and open with us. We taught them how to use a condom when they were 12, 13. We discussed with them what sex is. We told them, and my wife was very, she's a biologist, very, very frank with them on the biology side, even showing a very graphic, drawings of the human anatomy and the beauty of the human body, like that. And so when she said, I'm going to be seeing somebody, the first thing was, I want to come and squeeze this guy and just shake his hand and look him straight like they do in the black American movies, and ask him really what he wants to do with my daughter. But then that wisdom started creeping in, and I said, oh, that is a great thing, my daughter. I'm really happy to know that you're going to be seeing somebody, because instinctively it is that there is going to be somebody in her life, and this guy is going to be known to us. It's not going to be a secret, which is a great thing. And I said, you need to invite him to dinner. We need to have a dinner as a family and sit down with him. We want to know him, and then create a relationship with him. And that created another layer of safe space for her, which was, how often can I see him? And then we created rules. She was doing her final year. We said, you can go and see him on a Friday evening until Sunday, but you cannot see him during the school days, because then it will interfere with your school program. What am I saying? Unless parents create a safe space, if there is anything you want to take from my talk, it is actually that. Unless parents create a safe space, that safe space will actually be missing in the family. The children will look for it out there. They will create it. And once they create a safe space that is unknown to you, they will buffer it. They will make it inaccessible to you. And that is where you see things like drug abuse, unwanted pregnancies and all this stuff. And I don't know why we still use the word unwanted pregnancy, when the reality is that parents want them to be pregnant, because they don't do anything to guide these children on safe sex if it is inevitable, or discuss that it is something that doesn't need to happen until very late. To close my argument, Eli, I'd like to I'd like to I don't know, I'd like to complain about the church. Let me just say that, so that I don't sound I don't sound toxic. I want to complain about the church, and the schools as well. We have a problem as a society in Kenya. We dump our children at age 6 in kindergarten, boarding kindergarten. We dump them at age 7 in boarding primary schools. We dump them to secondary boarding schools. I have a friend actually here. He's from Bunyore. He did his PhD when I was a postdoc at the University of Munich, and he told me the first time he saw his parents and actually had a conversation with them was when they attended his master's degree graduation at the University of Nairobi. All along, they've been strangers to him, because he grew up around a maid. He went to boarding school from class 1, went to boarding secondary school, and then he went to university away from them. And so we are looking at that kind of a society again, where either the economy or very lazy parenting has forced us to sort of abrogate our responsibility as parents, hand it over to teachers who are overwhelmed, A, by their families, and B, by their careers. And therefore, there is no connect between the parents and the children in that case. And where there is that very little connection, there is very little discussion about things like the ones that we are talking about today. But I want to go back to the church, because we hand over our children once in a while to go to youth camps, to go to whatever it is. And the messages they get there is, stay holy, don't touch a girl, don't let a boy touch you until you are married. Shame on you, pastors. I don't know what world you are living in. I think our church should be more proactive than anybody to really start doing deliberate offering of lessons on human sexuality, and teach our children not to have sex, teach our children not to date each other, but how to relate. We cannot keep telling girls boys are bad. We cannot keep telling the boys girls are bad. And yet we know these are our brothers, these are our sisters. Our father was once a boy, our mother was once a girl. I think we really need to define in those clusters, if you like. The church really needs to change the messaging, the schools and the way we relate to schooling in Kenya, and the way we delegate our responsibilities as parents to teachers, and our parenting roles and the ability for us to really create the safe space in our homes. If there is anything you want to take from what I've said, just think about those three clusters of groups. Thanks a lot.